So some of our patients have come along this evening to give you the benefit of their experience with bariatric surgery. So if we just go to the slide, Stevie, I'm just going to show you all a few pictures of some patients that have done the patient experience talks in the past and are here tonight as well. It is a little bit simple because everybody loves a good before and after picture. So if we just go to the next one, please. Next slide. So this is Stuart, and he's with us tonight. So as you can see, he's done amazingly well. So what we'll do is if we stop sharing the screen and go to Stuart, he'll just introduce himself and talk about his journey for a little bit for us.
Hi everybody. My name's Stuart Peterson. Just to give you a brief of where my journey started back in 2016. I started, went into the doctors. I was having problems with hypertension, high blood pressure, close to diabetic, struggling with my knees. I was struggling walking to the point where I was having injections in my knees. The doctor then suggested I go to the health clinic within the doctor's surgery, and then from there I went then to Tongmoor, did the 6 months with them, and they pushed me forward for a bariatric surgery, which I had back in, what we'll know, so it was 2019, so I'm now 2 years on May 15th that I've had the bariatric surgery. I had a gastric bypass. I started off at 28.5 stone at the beginning of my journey. I now weigh as little as 12.5 stone. And at the moment, I still are at the point where I'm holding my weight. I'm just sticking to what everybody tells me that I should be doing. And I'm not putting on, and I'm keeping it that weight. I'm at a point now where, fantastically, I do 40 miles a day, whether it be on my bike or on the bike in the garage, roughly for about 5 days a week. And I'm no longer on all the tablets. I am on some tablets. Unfortunately, you do replace the bad tablets for the good tablets, but the good tablets are all vitamins, minerals, and all that. But you know what? Life's fantastic now, and I appreciate everything that these guys on this bariatric team have done for me. And onward and upward, and I just keep going from there. So that's probably a bit more than a little bit about me, but there we go. I'll leave it at that for now.
That's great. Thanks, Stuart. No, it's really important that we get to meet people that have actually had surgery. So as we go along, please put as many questions as you like, because after the 3 guys that have come along tonight to share their experience, we'll try and do as many questions and answers as possible. So anything you're thinking about from people that actually had it, so not necessarily the professional questions so much, more about real life experience, have a ponder and put some questions in. So if we go back to the slideshow, is that okay, Stevie? Is this a pain for you? Because I can do it differently if it is. Ta-da! Look who it is. It's Lisa. Oh, fantastic. So another amazing before and after picture. If ever you guys want me to update pictures, just let me know. But I do think it's just incredible. So let's go over to Lisa and she can tell us a bit about her story.
Hi everyone, I'm Lisa Williams. I had a gastric sleeve in September 2014. I've never looked back. I'm 53 now and I feel a lot younger than that. I've certainly got more energy than when I was in that photograph, a size 30 and 26 stone. So life's very different for me now, a lot more active. I feel much healthier. I did have type 2 diabetes, and I was on a lot of a very strong drug regime, which was not very nice. But I'm actually been in remission from the day that I've had my surgery from diabetes, and I still have my checks. Like Stuart, I do have the vitamin regime, but once you get into the routine of that, it just becomes part of your daily life. And again, you know, like Stuart, I just want to thank the team at Salford Royal. They're absolutely amazing guys who've put us on a fabulous journey, and they just give you your life back. So yeah, that's me. And those pictures, that dress where I was a size 30, I actually sent it back because it wasn't comfortable at all. And I just thought, I cannot walk out of the house like that. So, you know, to be in normal clothes is just a bonus, but the main thing is your health. It's just fabulous to have great health. I hope that helps everyone.
Oh, thanks, Lisa. That's really nice. And it is lovely to be endorsed. I do like to think we do our jobs well at Salford. But I have to say, really, there's guidance, there's follow-up appointments. It's all dictated by what the NHS can afford. So we try, that's why I really try and do the support groups, because it gives me another opportunity where no one's trying to put a budget on it, and we have a bit more freedom. But really, it is you guys. You do a lot of research. Some of you maybe at the beginning of your journey now, maybe some of you have been waiting quite a lot longer in that tier 3 service due to COVID. But really, it's all of the preparation, it's all the work that you do and the tool that bariatric surgery is and how you use it afterwards. So yeah, I think from when I speak to patients that have had it done privately and then maybe they come to us for whatever reason, support, knowledge, it really, really helps. It makes a huge difference. So if we just go back to the slides and see who we have next. Ah, David, fantastic. I think they're great pictures. They're both great pictures, but again, what an amazing achievement there. So let's go back to David and you can tell us a bit about his journey.
Yeah. Hi, my name's Dave Swan. When I came back from working in Warrington to Trafford Park in 1998, I was very overweight. I did a health-wise weight loss program. And in early 2001, I stepped up the height of a paving slab and ruptured my right Achilles tendon. And that really needed to get my weight under control. My highest weight was 26 stone 10 in 2011. But I've been overweight since my 5th birthday when I had my tonsils taken out. Before that, I was really underweight. I've attended Dr. Summers' clinics for many years. In late 2000, I was suffering with type 2 diabetes and had arterial fibrillation, which required cardioversion. So I really needed to do something about my weight to alleviate these problems. I'd always been a bit cautious about messing about with my stomach because my father died of cancer of the esophagus, and that always worried me. But having spoken to the team, that's not a problem. So I went through various steps. In November 2018, I was down to the operation weight of 19 stone 3. So on the 20th of the 2nd, I went to the Spire. I was one of the people that went to, not to the actual Salford Royal, to have a gastric sleeve operation with Mr. Akhtar. And after some discussions, I finally ended up having a gastric bypass and a 3-day stay. I know if I'd known then how much better I feel now, I would have done it years ago. I haven't taken any diabetes medication since then, since the operation.
To the questions, I think the first ones are all for the people that have had the surgery in the past. So first of all, many comments saying congratulations and you've done such a great job. So the first question I've got is when did you start seeing the results of surgery, and did any of you have any complications after the surgery?
No.
No, not for me either. I didn't have any complications. In fact, I haven't had much of the dumping syndrome, to be fair, especially the being sick side of it. I've not had much of that. I've had the other, not to be so crude, but generally, you eat right and you'll find that you won't get that.
Yeah. And how long did it take for you to start seeing kind of the weight loss? I think that was the first part of the question.
I don't know about you. Instantly.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
going to close that and say instantly you do start seeing the weight coming off, and then it does start coming off a little bit slower. So don't think that you're going to lose all your weight straight away. It will slow down, and it might even go, it depends on your metabolism, it might go down to 2 or 3 pounds a week, but you'll see that steady weight loss coming off. But every single day you'll start to feel healthier, and there'll be something that you can do tomorrow that you might not have been able to do in the day before. And it's such a fabulous feeling, guys.
Thank you. So people are asking about excess skin. So lots of people are worried about excess skin prior to having surgery. So they're just asking about your experience. Have you had much excess skin, or are there any kind of tips and tricks that you can support people with post-surgery?
I can offer some help on that. So I'm 53 and I have got a little bit of excess skin around my tummy, but I do have quite a bit of protein, and it has helped me. So I've not got any excess skin on my arms, but I think it's quite appropriate to say it will reduce. You know, all these stories you hear of people having it down to the knees, it's not always the case. It will reduce. It just takes the time, and make sure that you follow the dietary regime that your consultants give you. Is my best advice. And don't worry about it. Seriously, don't worry about it. People won't even notice it.
I think I go back to when I would, obviously we didn't do it this way. We actually had a meeting post-op in the hospital, and I go back to a surgeon that was asked the question, and this lady said to him, I believe that if you lose weight slowly, then you won't get the saggy skin and you won't get the excess skin, as opposed to losing it all in one. And he said, look, not to be nasty, not to be funny, he said, but if you have a pillow and you take an handful of pillow and take an handful of feathers out that pillow, and then another handful of feathers and another handful of feathers, eventually you'll end up with an empty saggy pillow. If you take one at a time, you're still going to have that empty saggy pillow. So it doesn't really matter whether you lose it all at once or all after. Well, there we go. I've still got it. That's 2 years in. You do get it. But for me, I don't know about you guys, but for me, it was not for vanity. It was for my health. Yeah. And as far as I'm concerned, my health came first. And I feel superb. I really do. I don't know about you, Lisa. Do you agree?
Absolutely agree. It's not about vanity at all, this process. It's an amazing journey. It's a hard journey, and it is a tool. But your health, that feeling is better than anything in the world. I promise you guys, it really is.
Yeah.
Perfect. And Dave, have you got any thoughts on that?
Well, there is a bit of excess weight, but skin. But like you say, if you use the protein as you're supposed to do, then that builds up and lessens the amount that you get. But I'm of an age where it doesn't matter what I look like.
Common theme there that you're all feeling much healthier and better now, regardless of having, you know, a small amount of excess skin. Great.
I think they actually say, don't they, Stevie, that when you get older, that it's harder your elasticity is not the same, and especially if you're a male. Female, actually, their elasticity is a little bit better because of how they go through childbirth and stuff like that. And that's what I've heard.
Yeah. Okay. Misha, in preparation for surgery, people should be thinking about excess skin and kind of how they're going to feel. What kind of advice do you give people on the program thinking about surgery, and if they're worried about excess skin?
Usually what we do at the moment, it's what advice they get here, you know, in this forum as well. But the nutritionists, when they do the reviews, will always ask the question around how do people feel about excess skin? So that's the chance for clients to be able to tell them how they feel about it, and maybe look at ways they would be able to deal with that post-surgery, think of some solutions or some options even as to how they would cope with that, or things they could do. So maybe looking at things they've read or know about that will help, like things like exercise as well. That help. We do the reviews, that's we do explore that in quite a bit of detail, and it gives the clients a chance to be able to tell us how they feel about the excess skin.
Yeah, okay, thank you for that. So the next question then, guys, is how did you adapt to such a drastic change? So for example, not being able to drink a glass of bubbles ever again.
I think I can answer that one really easily. I was worried about feeling sick if I had bubbles or anything like that, so just found other drinks that would be really nice instead, and I've sort of stuck to that, and it's just become part of my life now. So there's lots of different options out there for you in terms of drink, and you can just really enjoy alternatives.
You can always, again, like they do in the pubs when they're making your shandy, just knock your bubbles out of it. You can still drink it. It's just you're drinking in moderation. And one of the things you don't do is drink them bubbles before you're going to eat. So even if there's a little bit of gas in there, just don't drink that before you're going to eat. You'll learn that half an hour before you're going to eat something, you don't drink. Half an hour after, then you can have a drink. So you just learn. Your body will tell you. It really does.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. So somebody else has asked, did getting bariatric surgery mean that you were then able to help with other problems? So somebody says they've been refused support for another health problem because of their weight.
I can answer this one a little bit. So a lot of the referrals we get to are not always because the patients thought about having bariatric surgery first. It may be because a healthcare professionals actually recommended it. So yeah, that there are unfortunately criteria out there where you have to be a BMI below 35 to be considered for knees and hips and kidney transplants and all kinds of things. So there could be people with considerable hernias, normally to the lower part of your tummy, and their surgeon will find that very difficult to make a meaningful, lasting wound to heal. So to sometimes put perhaps a mesh repair and things like that in to hold properly if there's a lot of weight in front of that could drag it and perhaps not allow it to heal properly. So people do come to us sometimes really not keen about surgery, and we're absolutely not in the game of convincing anyone to have it. But it's usually all the things that hopefully most of you here are looking forward to are the silver linings, as well as them being able to go on and have another surgery. So yeah, unfortunately it does. We also have women who want to have babies, and that the fertility can be affected by obesity. It might not even be obesity that's the fertility problem. They won't be considered for NHS IVF support because of their weight. So again, those people really need rapid weight loss so that they can consider having a family. So there's lots of reasons people go down the road of bariatric surgery.
Jodie, just going on that, I really had problems with my knees to the point where I was saying that I had to have injections in my knees. So one of the things I was going to do was, once I had the operation, lose all the weight and then get my knees done. My knees are fine.
Don't need it now.
My knees are absolutely brilliant, to the top point where I'm doing all that cycling. So, you know, in some cases, it just the surgery helps that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's another word of warning. It hasn't happened for ages, so maybe I'm doing my talks better, but 45-year-old lady's pregnant about 4 months after surgery. So you go through about a rapid weight loss, about 40% of your excess fat in that first sort of 6 months, maybe sometimes more, sometimes less. But if you were having a few fertility issues because of and didn't really know it, suddenly that weight loss may actually improve your fertility. So there's a cautionary word. I did notice in the question, Stevie, someone was saying about pregnancy and bariatric surgery. So again, so if this is part of the reason maybe you're having bariatric surgery because you do want to start a family, please wait 12 to 24 months post-op. A baby is a parasite. It will take everything it needs from you
as it should, to grow properly. So nutritionally, we want you in a nice, good place to be able to give your body over to growing a baby. So 12 to 24 months is our recommendation before trying to conceive after surgery. If you did get pregnant within the first 2 years after surgery, don't panic. We'll support you. We'll make sure that you have a safer pregnancy as possible, and all options should be open to you: breastfeeding, natural birth, and so on after bariatric surgery.
It always scares me, that word of warning. Right, so one of the next questions is, I suppose this is something that lots of people are wondering. Somebody said, tell us the real facts, you know, warts and all, about the pain, about the lack of food, about potentially being sick. Yeah, has anybody got anything to kind of throw in there?
Lisa, do you want to go first?
I would just say listen to your body, particularly in the first 9 weeks after having your surgery. So once you've had surgery, you do need to have a liquid diet for a few weeks, where there's no lumps and bits in your food. Don't try and attempt to do anything until your body's ready for it, because you will be sick, and you know, you're quite sore after surgery as well. So really take the advice on board from the experts. Just stop eating when you're full, because if you carry on eating, you will be sick. It's just a lot of it is about listening to your body, and doing the right thing for you. And don't worry about anybody else. The danger that you've got when you go out for meals and things is that everybody else on that table is going to put weight on, because they will finish your food off when you can't. So I have things like starter portions and stuff like that, and never be embarrassed about not finishing a meal. I think, you know, for my generation, you always were expected to leave a table when you'd finished what you were eating. So it's important to listen to yourself, I think, and be really honest, because it's not nice if you feel sick for anybody.
Yeah, I think for me the hardest part was that liquid. And it is liquid. I don't know if anybody knows what a consomme is. That's basically what you're having. You're having a consomme. That'll be the first thing that you have when you've had your operation. They'll give you a consomme. I think I had chicken. It's literally flavoured water. Now, you have that for 3 weeks. Them 3 weeks were my hardest, to be fair, because you make a consomme, that is several meals, and you seem to have, if I can give you any advice, do several consommes, freeze them, and then swap the flavour, because that's all you're getting. You're only getting that flavour. You're not getting anything like, you're not getting a mashed potato taste, and then you're not having a sausage, and then you're not having a bean. You're having one flavour. So spread your flavours about. I found a company called Coombe Farm, and they do, it's like a stock, like a beef stock and stuff like that. You can get that. That's really good, and it's full of protein and it's full of vitamins. After that, blending is a bit sickly. That's another 3 weeks, but then you start on the soft foods. So I think generally it's them. That, for me, it was that first 6 weeks that was and I loved to eat. I did, but that first 6 weeks it was tormentuous, really. But you know, as for warts and all, the sick, I've probably been sick 10 times probably in the time. But if you stick to what you should be eating, you won't be sick. And like Lisa said, don't overdo it. I'm at a point now, I'm 2 years down the line, I still don't get hungry. I eat for the sake of eating. That's what I do. I used to laugh at my grandparents because they used to be set to a certain meal at a certain time. I do that, but I only do that so I eat it. So I'll eat something at that time. But generally, I think really it's you've got to have your mindset. If you don't have your mindset, then this isn't for you. It's not easy. It's not an easy cop out. It's far from it. It's hard work, and it's you that's got to do the work. Nobody else can help you. It's all down to yourself, and you'll learn. You'll learn about how your body feels, and you'll learn about what your body wants. And you know, 2 years down the line, you could be as slim as me.
Thank you.
Talking about pain, the worst pain after the operation was in the shoulders, believe it or not.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the wind, weren't it?
Yeah, wind from the anaesthetic and all this
Oh.
sort of thing. They blow you up so that they can do what they need to do. So when that's going, that doesn't half hurt. But,
was it about 2 weeks for you, Dave?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You think
It's
you're going
awful.
daft.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. So one of the next questions is about aftercare, Jodie. So what happens with regards to aftercare if somebody moves out of the area? Can they transfer to somewhere else?
Yeah, so bariatric services are kind of commissioned locally. So there's kind of like a web of funding that goes across the whole of the UK, and then every area belongs to a certain team. So you guys hopefully all belong to Salford. If you moved out of area, then the service there should capture you for follow-up. Salford boasts the best follow-up in the universe. And no, I always say this. The only reason I should laugh at myself, I'm not that funny. But no, essentially, the medical weight management team, which is our dietitians and our bariatric physicians, and that's the most important one, the bariatric physician, they will offer you a yearly appointment for the rest of your life. It's always worth keeping hold of those letters, because if you don't turn up for one, sometimes you do need to then phone up and remake it, otherwise that you could get lost to them because with it being so far apart. But most NHS services have a 2-year follow-up plan, and the way we do it in Salford is that you'll meet your team, you'll meet your surgeon, and all being well, you should never need your surgeon again. So that's where I pick you up with Chris, our dietitian. You'll have a few phone calls with me initially, then you'll have a few appointments with me and Chris, the dietitian, and then the dietitian will kind of follow you through to the 2 years, along with the yearly follow-up with the medics, and that's pretty much the way we do our follow-up, so that there's something for you. And then the post-op support group, which we're now doing via Teams, is there as well. So hopefully that will grow and meet people's needs, because I do think it's good to keep a community feel about it. Because you were talking about excess skin before, and it really, different people at different stages, especially through that post-op support group, come to my mind. And there was a chap, and he was really distressed by the excess skin. He had thought about it, but we all think about things. Doesn't mean we know how we're going to feel when we're living it. And he really struggled psychologically with that. And I noticed someone else put in the questions, or you could, did the surgeons advocate having it done privately? It's the only way you can have excess skin removal is privately. If there were medical issues, so sometimes skin folds can be really quite pronounced, and they can become a bit of a medical problem. Maybe there's infections underneath them. Any problem you ever have with those skin folds, you have to report it to your GP, because the only way that you'll get NHS funding for any skin removal is through an independent funding application that goes to a panel, and then they decide if the NHS should fund this for you. So it's not right. We don't believe it's right at all, but it's the only option the NHS has at the minute. And I believe in England, the types of excess skin removal surgeries that are done range between £5,000 to £10,000, so it's not a cheap thing to have done. And actually, technically, it's a bigger operation than major gastric bypass and sleeve surgery. It's not an easy thing, and it's definitely more painful than bariatric surgery. So there's things to sort of think about. I'm talking more about the apronectomy there, so that's the bit down the bottom. I don't know about bat wings and things like that. But yeah, so this is just kind of answer that one a bit more thoroughly. It is just not available on the NHS easily.
Thanks, Jodie. So Aaron has asked what the process is once you're actually referred to Salford Wales. So what should he expect in terms of contacting yourselves and the process?
Yeah, that's right. So you're all part of a Tier 3 weight management team. There isn't specific times. There's guidelines to the times that you spend with them based on your own clinical individual background, which on that first interview, normally when you go to meet the team, they'll be able to kind of go through with you, or at the point that bariatric surgery is perhaps introduced as an option or an idea for you. So to bear in mind that it's the weight loss expectations go from the highest weight that you are within that tier 3 weight management, and most set a criteria of 5 to 10% weight loss, along with everything you've learned, everything you've been doing to get yourself ready for meaningful weight loss lifelong by any means, but obviously with bariatric surgery being the option here. And then that they have a team meeting and they discuss everything and say, right, let's refer this patient over. So when you refer to Salford at the moment, due to the delays for all the times they kept closing down our outpatient services and redeploying us with COVID and all, we have a waiting list that's around 20 weeks from referral. So that's once you then meet the team. You'll meet that physician that you get to see yearly, you'll meet your surgeon, which is really important, you'll have more education with Chris and I, and you'll also be asked to have things like sleep studies or any psychological input, because that's really important. And then once all those things are happy and you're happy and you're safe for surgery, you'll have a pre-op, and then you'll go to either one of the Spire Hospital or have your surgery at Salford. And at the moment, I cannot tell you what the delay is, because we are still in the situation where elective surgery hasn't commenced. When I know when we commence, and I know exactly what theatres we're being given to get our backlog done, then I can start working out waiting times. But right now, I couldn't tell you. But there are delays, and I think that's why really the experience you have now with your tier 3 weight management, you've just really got to make the most of, and perhaps change mindsets, because it's going to be a longer wait. So we have to just adjust things and slow things a little bit, so that we're not kind of feeling like it's kind of mentally adjust. And I think that's really important, because delays are difficult to deal with.
Thanks, Jodie. The next question is, how long will it be after surgery that I can carry on my long distance walking?
For me, before I felt I could feel as though I could walk around a bit, it was probably about 5-6 weeks, realistically. They do tell you not to lift and do anything strenuous up to that. But yeah, I'd say about 5 or 6 weeks, as long as you don't overdo it. And then after that, it just gets better. It just, you know, it's each individual, I think, to be fair.
I think I agree with that too. I mean, I was certainly walking within 4 hours of having my surgery, albeit I was shuffling about a bit, but I was up and about, and I was able to do a little bit more every day. But I think, like she said, you just got to listen to your own body. But certainly 6 weeks after the operation, I was back in the gym doing light exercise and not heavy lifting, but definitely getting on with the exercise and the walking.
Dave, what was your experience?
Yeah, well, a couple of hours after the operation, I was moving about in the ward, because they like you to get moving as soon as possible, because of like we were saying about the wind and the pain and all that lot. The more you move about, the sooner it gets better. I mean, I do a lot of walking now, but obviously the gym's gone by the board at the moment. So hopefully when that comes back, there'll be a bit more variety to what you can do. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. How easy was it to adapt to the portion sizes, I suppose, once you're eating solid foods again?
That's a question and a half. It was weird, the fact that I don't know, you're not that hungry, so that hunger pain's gone away. So really, like I said, the hardest part for me with them, the first few weeks with them, the liquid and the blended side of it. You probably feel as though you don't want to eat, because it don't feel like it's a meal, but it's quite easy to get used to that portion size. You just get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you also need to drink quite a lot of water in the day, and that can suppress feeling hungry, or the water fills you up and you need it to keep yourself moving through and everything. So that's something that I fall down on a bit, but I'll try and drink some more while we're talking.
The hardest part, you don't seem to get hungry or thirsty, and the thirst is the one that you worry about because you're not thirsty, and that's the one, like Dave said, you've got to make sure you drink.
I've got an alarm that goes off every 2 hours to make sure that I remember.
You'll find you're just carrying a bottle around all the time.
Yeah. I carry a bottle around of water all the time, and when I go to a restaurant, and yes, I do go out when COVID allows us to. I used to work away a lot, so I was staying in hotels and things, so you can still go out and still enjoy yourself. I tended to go for more starter portions or a small carvery, and you might not finish a small carvery, probably won't. But I used to take some home as well, so you become a bit of a cheap date really, and your food shopping goes down quite a bit. So I won't worry about anything at all. You will adapt to it. I've even bought myself a little portion plate for myself that is great for me to have with the family. They know it's my plate, and I enjoy what I have, and I eat normal food.
Same with me, that I have a side plate. So my wife has a normal size plate, I have a side plate, and I have exactly what she has. It's just my plate's smaller. So generally you'll find that, rule of thumb, I'd say you get to a point where whatever's in a tin is probably your meal. So whatever you can get into a tin is your meal. That's what you're going to be eating. And don't be thinking, I mean, I've seen it pop up, about what people are saying, how people judge you. People don't judge you. They do not judge you. No, you will find that people will respect what you've done. And I always thought, will people think, it's took the easy way out? It's far from the easy way. I'll tell you that now, it is not easy. So, and the people around you will respect that. And even restaurants, you tell them what you go in, you say, look, this is my issue. They will look after you, and they'll make you things that haven't got fat in it. It's quite good, the response you get from people. So don't feel as though people are going to judge you, please.
Strangers stop me in the street and say, "My God, you're looking well. Where's the other bloke that you used to carry around with you?" And then you say, "Oh, I've bariatric surgery." So they say, "Well, that's only a tool. You've had to do the work as well." But complete strangers come up to you and say things, and it's really, really encouraging.
Brilliant, thanks guys. So Nisha, you might have a bit of input on this question, maybe after the other guys have answered, but this person said, so as an emotional eater, for example, how do you deal with those sorts of issues after surgery? Because thankfully you can't engage in those previous behaviour patterns.
Yeah, I think I can answer that one. So I used to be a bit of an emotional eater. Do you know what? Still like ice cream, still like cake. All those things haven't changed, but we just change things for yourself. Just this tool puts a bit of a stop and think button on you, and whilst you're doing that stop, you can say, well, do you know what? I might have a tiny bit of ice cream, but I'll have some fruit with it as well. You do start to change your own thought processes. But yeah, there are times when I think, do you know what? I could really do with something good now. But if you have too much of it, there is a consequence, because it is a tool. And it's only fair to say, if you have too much ice cream, I'll be really sick. And you could potentially get dumping syndrome, which is not nice. It's a 3-hour process of feeling sick, you've got a bad tummy, and you feel so dizzy. And thankfully, I've only had it once or twice, and you don't want it. So with that thought, you do try to avoid feeling like that. So just, again, listen to your own body. And just, if you want something, go and have a drink of water first, and then see if you really want it afterwards.
Yeah.
One of the things you got to look at as well when you're doing food, you can still have your cakes and you can still have your other stuff if you do it yourself, because you know what's in it. you get your really low fat butters, you get your low fat everything, your low fat milk, and you make it how you want it. And you can still have that. I mean, even to the point where I treat myself to a bar of chocolate. Now, that bar of chocolate is celebrations, and I can have a Mars bar. And if you've seen local Mars bar in a celebration, I've had a Mars bar. Or I've had a Snickers, or I've had a cream egg. It doesn't matter. I've had it. And in a lot of cases, if you've had that taste and you've had that piece of chocolate, that little Mars bar, you've had it. And it works. But I mean, that's a little bit further down the line. But you can beat it. You can beat it by doing silly little things, not silly little things, treats that way. And it works. It's worked for me.
Can I just echo in on there that, yeah, I think that's the other thing. Food's incredibly social. You have to get to that full textured diet because it's really, really important that food's still a big part of your life. And I think something that a lot of patients, when they get to the stages where David and Stuart are, which is around that 2-year post-op mark, Lisa's a little bit further along now. At that 2-year mark, people do, statistically speaking, put some weight on. And that's absolutely fine. It's to be expected. And it's kind of as your body's buffered all those effects, you might notice hunger creeping back in again. You might notice that you can have more than what you were having before. So yeah, so sort of the society is not set up to support the bariatric post-op patient. It just isn't. Lifestyles still go on. Things will still get stressful. Easy options are things that we need in our life because they can get very busy. I think lockdown has taught us to slow down, has taught us to prioritize. But then, you know, half the nations also put weight on during lockdown as well. So it's just, we already know that society has ignored the pandemic that is obesity, and that it's not just simply down to people being daft, making daft choices all the time. It's just not how it works at all. So when you've had bariatric surgery, you have to be very aware of everything you've been through and where you've got to, because society still hasn't changed, yet you've had a great tool that's allowed you to lose some brilliant weight. And then, yes, it is up to you, but I just think it's a lot easier. And I think you've got to also accept that there will be some weight gain. It's how much and what you're doing, and that self-awareness that's so important. So I'd rather people always keep a little tap in with Salford Royal, because at some point that support group could be really useful to you to try and get rid of any kind of guilt, because guilt just fuels negativity, and negativity can creep in bad habits, or it could be anything. So it's not like you have your surgery and then there's some rainbows and then everyone's really thin. I hate that. You're beautiful people already. I'm not bothered how thin you are. I'm bothered how healthy and how good you feel. And that's really important. And holding on to that is important, but not at the cost of it suddenly becoming an anxiety that you might put weight on, or that you're not doing things right. You've got to have a little bit of an aspect of, right, I've done my rapid weight loss, I've got a bit of rebound, regain, that's to be expected. Well, what is my breakfast? What is my lunch? What is my tea? What's going on with my shopping? What's going on with my kids? And just being that self-aware person, because you've just lived your best life in terms of your food. So it's how you hold on to that then. So yeah. And I must, because I have a little bit of a Swiss cheese brain and I pop all over the place. I saw a comment just before, somebody called Veronica. You mentioned that you've been told that you've got some precancerous cells in your endometrial hyperplasia, is what it's called. If you're part of the Tier 3 weight management program and maybe something changes in your health, if any of those things are identified, you need to have a hysterectomy, and you can't have a hysterectomy if you're very, very heavy, you actually now need urgent bariatric surgery. So please, can you get your gynecologist to refer to the Salford team at Bariatric for an urgent referral, or go back or contact your Tier 3 provider tomorrow so they can forward you on to us now. Nobody should be sitting with any cancerous cells waiting for weight loss. Okay.
Thanks, Jodie. I was just going to add there about the emotional eating or comfort eating. If you're within a Tier 3 service, which everybody here will be, a lot of the services have psychological support. So if that's something that you're aware of now and it does impact your weight and you are feeling guilty about, soothing yourselves with food, then speak to your tier 3 services and they can support you. Certainly within ABL, Nisha, I'm not sure about.
Yeah, it's the same at More Life. Yeah, so it's, sometimes we find clients will go through the first 12 weeks and then it's that sort of, like Jodie was saying, once you've got that awareness, they start to realize that there is something going on there. So you can have like one-to-one psychological support as well for any sort of emotional or binge eating.
Thanks.
Yeah, if you had surgery when you have an addiction or a food disorder, a behavior problem with food, and that's nothing to be ashamed of at all. But if you had bariatric surgery where we've got to protect those surgical joints inside, it's really dangerous. So you should definitely get this addressed, and that's why psychology is part of the tier 3 weight management service, and not all tier 3 services unfortunately have it, which is why we have psychology with us as well. So it's not something that's saying you can't have surgery, it's something that needs to be addressed before you have surgery, so that you've got coping strategies and tools, and you've got you've demonstrated kind of to yourself that you don't need to lean on that as a way of dealing with something. So that's really important.
Thanks, Jodie. Somebody's asked, is there a Facebook group or anything for post-bariatric surgery patients because somebody's struggling at present? I suppose if they're post-bariatric surgery, they should be in your group maybe?
Yeah, so obviously let me know. You can be added to our post-op support group, which is growing. Facebook is something that it's a minefield, isn't it? Sometimes I bet you wish you could just put your Facebook in the bin, because there are even people you've chosen to friend, but you just don't want to know what they've got to say. You don't want to see their tea, and their child looks very nice. But I know I'm being horrible now, aren't I? But the point is, you've got to be, Facebook is one of those where they can say a lot and you mentally have to be in the right place for that. I think it's a safer forum when you do it in a structured group, but if you're kind of looking for answers from for something specific, then really you might be better sort of just maybe doing a bit of a self-help checklist, like what is it that you're looking for, what were you hoping to get from the Facebook group. If you're just looking to be part of a community with people that have had it and you know how to take things with a pinch of salt, then go forth, but there isn't any that I advocate for those reasons. I don't know if you guys are part of any groups online that Lisa, have you heard of any?
No, I've same reasons as you. I've chosen not to be part of general Facebook, but I do find our support groups absolutely fantastic. It's the best forum for me. I think everybody gets a really good opportunity to ask all their questions at this type of forum.
And I do notice that it's very small. It's not like this. It's quite small because people don't need it all the time. You've got lives, you're busy, and then you might think, oh, do you know what? I think I'm going to just check in and see what people are saying. And you know, people just come and listen sometimes because they just be anonymous, just a blank little postage stamp, and just listen in. And then I think that's the point of it, isn't it? You don't know what you need help with sometimes.
Hi, sorry, Jodie. Can I ask a quick question, please? It was me that asked about the post-bariatric support group. Did you say that there was something that you have on Teams or something?
Yeah, so when you've had bariatric surgery at Salford, unfortunately, because there's been lots of constraints with COVID, I'm trying to get us a generic bariatric.net account, and sometimes I think because of the way IT is being used for so many different things now, I'm struggling. But what I want is for all letters that go out from Salford Royal to have that bariatric.net account, so you can email at any time with your details and I can add you to groups. But you once you've had your surgery, you should all have my number. You should all have having bariatric surgery booklets. So just drop me a line and I'll add you in. Just all I need is your email. But it is obviously when you've had surgery. So if you haven't had it yet, or if you've had it and you're looking to get added to that group, then please just let me know. It's the quickest way.
I've had a bariatric sleeve. I'll send you my email if that's all right.
Brilliant. Is there anything you wanted to share, Leanne? How have you found things?
I've struggled, unfortunately. So I'm kind of I'm the other extreme.
But that's okay. It's okay. We can't just have a post to people for, oh, it's marvelous, because that can make you feel bad if you're not having a good time and you're not finding it easy to adjust.
Yeah. I've struggled with it, but that's why I'm obviously wanting to be on this group so that I can regain
Yeah.
that support.
Yeah, no, definitely. And thanks for finding us here. So yeah, please email. I'm just trying to think of have you still got that booklet with my number on it?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Good.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Leanne, if you're with ABL Health, we have a bariatric Facebook group. I'm not sure if you are with ABL or not.
Not now. I was with ABL. I actually live in Stockport.
You with More Life?
Yeah, you'd be with More Life.
Yeah, but More Life then passed me over back to Salford Royal. It's all been very confusing. I won't go into the ins and outs of it, but yeah.
Well, you're found now, Leanne, so I'm really glad.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Okay, so I'm 65 years old. Will I be too old for surgery by the time I move up the waiting list? I'm on the monthly meetings with More Life now.
I would say no, because I was 65 when I had mine.
Yeah, no, there's no age limit. Delays are a real issue. I think if you're doing really well in your tier 3 weight management service, then you should be asking them for a consideration of well, not an early referral, but just for that to be taken into consideration. And obviously there's things that go with the program. So as long as you know that you're following all those things, then there's no reason why you shouldn't be referred on as soon as you're able to get the funding to go with it. Brilliant. So John's someone who had bariatric surgery with us. How long ago now was it, John? Are you happy just to talk a little bit about the surgery you had and when you had it?
Yeah, I don't mind. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not popping on the screen. Am I? So I had it about 5 years ago now. Can't believe how quick it's gone. Hey, up there's my dodgy pictures. So I ended up doing. I came to these support groups every month. I was a bit nervous to start off with. Thought I'll just go and get on with it, and I've not really left since. It's good. I just found the peer support really good, useful. I was put on an adaptation to the liver reduction diet. I don't think that's been mentioned this evening. I don't know if that's still being offered as a thing to help people going forward. Yeah. But I think Stevie's seen me peddling away saying you need to lose about 10% of your weight as a guide before they consider you for surgery. But that was more just to show that you're adhering to the surgery and you have got the opportunity to actually lose weight. So I ended up losing not only the 10%, but I ended up losing 8 stone because I was waiting for the surgery. It was just waiting lists. You just when you want something so much, you'll do practically anything to get it. And I ended up, everything just seemed to come together. So I ended up losing 8 stone. Then I had the surgery. Then I lost a further, I think it was about 10 stone. So all in all, I'd lost 18 stone. And I managed to keep that off for a bit. But then obviously the pandemic's hit a little bit last year. So I'm a bit embarrassed and a bit, I don't know, just frustrated with it. That I put a little bit of weight back on, but only a bit. It's not. I'm not back to the major thing I was pre-surgery. I think I just need to absorb that and just have a step back and go, hang on a minute. So what? You've put a couple of stone on. To be honest, I've got a life now. I'm working now. I retrained. I'm an occupational therapist. There's so many doors opened up. Why am I still worried about a little bit of weight on my middle? So, Jodie's little thing before about saying no, just acknowledging, saying don't worry about it. It's an open forum. And again, Leah, I could see the distress in Leah's presentation. That's the way I feel at the moment, but this is what the support group's for. It's there to reach out and check back in. So I hope I've not spoke too much.
No, not at all. I really appreciate you sharing, because I think it's really important that you always struggle with your weight. It's just something, it's another tool you've used to help deal with it. And I do think that, you know, when you come from such a large weight and you get that rapid weight loss and everything's just like, yes, just that little dip up and you're like, whoa, hang on, alarm bells, I'm going back to my old life.
I feel like, you feel like you're going to the highest. Sorry to talk over you, but you feel that's what it feels like. And I don't think I'm not gaining. I've gained a bit and it seems to have stopped. But in my mind, I'm like, I don't want to swear. How do I get this back off? I've done it before. I should be able to do it again.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm just checking back in, going, how can I just? This must be something I'm doing wrong. I've gone back to recording my intake, trying to see for any things that I need to change. I think for me it's meal frequency and portion size and knowing what's correct and what to have. And I think that's what I just, obviously pandemic permitting, is to just check back in with the dietitian and just say, am I eating too much? Yeah, I probably am. But to be honest, even now I'm like, I can't remember talking to, but I'm running like 10 miles a week. So I'm just keeping all the fitness up and everything. And,
the thing is, in the pandemic at the minute, I think for everyone in general, even though we might be doing our usual exercise, our daily movement's significantly less. I don't know about you guys, but I'm sat in my lounge all day, every day, and I literally only leave the house when I have to. So either to exercise or to go and buy my food shop. And that means I'm doing barely any steps compared to what I did before. And that's going to be lots of people, isn't it? So I think, as Jodie said, you've got to be kind to yourself, and you've got to allow yourself, to adapt to the change we've had now.
I think that's happened to me as well. I mean, I'll be honest, John, I've put 2 stone on and probably a little bit more since the pandemic. And I'm just sat here doing Zoom calls, Microsoft Teams calls for work, and I'm grazing. So even though I can't have big portions, you can still graze, guys. And it's surprising how much you can put on. And I'm not exercising as much as I should be, but I'm acknowledging what I'm doing. And I'll tell you now, I'm not going to get back to 26 stone again, ever. So it's just sometimes be realistic with yourself and understand, you know what, you will put weight on if you continue to graze, even if you've had the operation, but you are aware of it. So that's what I try and do.
Yeah, no, that's honest of you to reveal. It is hard to go, because you feel like you failed, but then you've got to twist it back a bit and go, well, actually I've gained not just gained weight, but I've gained so much by going through everything. I don't regret it at all. But it's good to just,
I think sometimes I wonder, when you think about bariatric surgery and you think about the rapid weight loss, the wonderful weight loss, whereas I like to try and think about it as the life journey, really. So there's a Swedish study and it's got the most data on, so it kind of goes back 25 years with the bypass and sleeve surgeries and so on. And what they show is that rebound weight at 2 years, and then at the 10-year marker. So I think the last one that they put out, the 10-year marker, everyone had still, the average of everyone had still maintained 11 BMI point weight loss, okay, which is phenomenal and brilliant. And of course there were some exceptions where it had all gone straight back on, and that doesn't mean that person's a failure or that they were awful. It just unfortunately means that it wasn't really about that there will be other issues surrounding why that was happening to that individual. For some people, the hunger is very relevant to them, even though we know physiologically things have changed. Head hunger can be a real menace. Some people really want to test that restriction. They want to know they've had too much, and they're thinking, well, hang on a minute, why am I not being sick? I thought I was going to be sick. I thought I wouldn't be allowed to have this. And then it's kind of, well, actually it's quite soft food and the swelling's gone down. It's essentially a log flume. So some people can still have larger meals without necessarily being sick. So I think it's just kind of really thinking about what you're doing and why you're doing it, and that it's not something that's necessarily, well, I think everybody here knows it is not the easy option. And I think it's those conversations that you have with family and friends, the people that might be a bit more judgmental, the people that watch all those crazy programs on telly about weight loss that are really unhelpful and I really hate, because it's not the reality of everyday people.
Thanks, guys. I think this next question is probably quite important. So, how important was it for you guys to have the support from your family and friends pre and post surgery? And how did your family and friends respond to your weight loss? Go for it, Lisa.
Okay, I actually didn't tell anybody because I was that worried about being judged, or and I totally made my mind up. I've got to lose this 26, stone, and so I didn't tell anybody until well after the operation, and then everybody was very supportive. I will say everyone is very, very inquisitive about what you can and can't do, but in the main they have been supportive. But at the time, I didn't feel comfortable sharing it with anybody. It was the first time I'd ever had a general anaesthetic, and I was really worried about getting through the operation.
Anybody else?
Yeah, for me, Andrea's here actually. My wife was worried about me having the operation in the interim, because I think Andrea felt it was an operation that wasn't life or death if I took it. For me, it was, because I was in such a bad way, and I don't think Andrea knows how bad it was. I didn't put across how bad I was. I think a lot of people out there probably feel the way I felt. I was depressed, fed up, sick to death of the pain in my knees. But I mean, now it's just, well, no, I mean, it's fantastic, isn't it, Kat? We like I say, at first it was too much of a worry for Andrea, and you've got to make sure that the person that you're with is on board with you, because it is a drastic change. It's a massive change in your life. But now, yeah, family, I just told them all straight away. I told everybody what I'd done, and it's just been fantastic comments. And every time somebody sees you, I saw my niece today. I've not seen her for a few months because of lockdown and everything, and she was so chuffed for me. And when people are actually there, and the feeling you get when somebody turns around to you and says, "Wow, you've lost a lot of weight," it's a really good buzz. I tell you, it's just fantastic. Loving life.
Thanks, Stuart. Dave?
Yeah, the family's been supportive. Apart from during lockdown, where the wife's been baking for the church, so that's been a bit awkward, but just have to try a little bit just to make sure it's all right.
Don't blame you. John, did you want to comment there?
Yeah, my family were eventually supportive. I was one that was a bit embarrassed about mentioning that I was going through surgery. Now, my mum and dad definitely knew about it, but I didn't want to tell my sisters, so they knew there was talk about me going for the surgery, but they didn't know it happened. So they actually didn't know. But the thing is, it started to open up potential problems, because it was going to like family gatherings and stuff when we could, so going to like buffets and stuff, and I wouldn't have been able to eat the stuff that's there, and they would have noticed that my portion sizes would have changed dramatically. So it was just a nice little conversation with them, and they were like, "Oh my God, John, that's fantastic! Oh wow, this is going to be amazing for you. We're ready to support you." They were really crying and really supportive about how it's quite a big change. She could appreciate it. So from then on, family have been really supportive. So yeah.
Thanks, John. Somebody's asked, have you got any tips on getting enough protein into your diet post-op?
There's protein powders you can put into the milk and what have you. I'm lactose intolerant, so that makes fun and games. You've got to find the protein that is okay. But yeah, there's that, and you're supposed to have so much percentage each meal, and that's what you've got to do.
Always make sure when you've got your split of your protein, your potatoes, and your veg, that the protein's gone.
Before you finish.
Even if you leave the veg or the potatoes, the protein is gone. I know people probably think that chicken's got a lot of protein in. You have to have a great big piece of chicken to actually get enough protein. So you've got to aim at what protein you're getting in. Just everything you eat, each meal you eat, think about the protein, not everything else. But you still need the other, don't get me wrong. So just make sure you eat that protein size. If anything you're going to eat that protein.
Anyone else?
I think I have milky drinks as well. That does help. Or a milk substitute if you can't have that. But I eat beans and things, so that's soft. Baked beans are protein, and you can put beans and stuff in salad. So like the guys, I try and include protein with every meal that I eat. So having eggs and things like that as well.
One thing you do, stay away from the bread, because the bread will instantly fill you up, and it's not protein. I know we all want to have a nice piece of toast with our beans on it, and we want a nice piece of toast with our ravioli on it, or whatever you eat. Ignore the bread, put the tin of ravioli in the microwave, cook the ravioli and eat the ravioli. Don't worry about anything else. Just eat that. Or just eat your spaghetti, or just eat your beans. You don't need that bread, and that bread is not good for you. You will be able to eat it eventually. You'll start that if you toast it, you can eat it. And if you like bread and butters, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle. Like even now, 2 years down the line, if I have a sandwich, you can guarantee there's a big chunk of that crust going to be left when I've finished. If I have a tin of soup, I'm going to eat all the tin of soup. So that just goes to show you, bread just goes whoop, just like rice and pasta. If you start boiling rice, you'll find that rice sort of wells up. It doesn't stop there. It carries on when it's in your stomach. So it's going to get more and more. That's going to reduce the protein you're going to have. Focus on the protein.
Stuart, sorry if you don't mind me asking, how much protein are you actually having at a meal then?
For me, I try and do a third. So a third of my protein, a third of potato, a third of my veg. And generally, because I always stick to a side plate, John. I always do. And I never go anywhere. Well, hold on.
It's just gone.
This is my tea.
We've got a jacket potato to come on.
I've got a jacket potato to go on there.
I'm trying to see it, but don't spill your tea showing us.
But this is a side plate.
Yeah.
That's my meal. And eventually, once that's side plate, I've got my potato on there. That's me done.
You've got some special cheese, haven't you?
Oh yeah, and I get the low-fat cheeses as well. So if you go to Tesco's, because I can have cheese now, if you go to Tesco's or Asda, it's 50% fat-free cheese. And I can quite stomach that. It's quite fine for me. I mean, it's surprising what's out there. I mean, you can get mayonnaise now. There's nothing in it. I buy a spray oil from, it's called Best Joy. And it's actually from Poland. And when you look at the ingredients down the side, there's 0. So when you're going out, just buy everything that's supposedly good for you. I say supposedly because you really don't know. But just buy everything that's supposedly good for you. So when I have chips, but I have them done in the oven. I spray them with a spray oil. You can find stuff out there that works. Philadelphia do a cheese spread that's literally, there's probably nothing in it, but it's a cheese spread.
Yeah.
Just keep buying all that kind of stuff. That's what I do.
It's expensive.
It is expensive. I'll tell you what, you will find when you go through this journey, it's going to cost you a lot of money. A, in clothes, and B, because you've got less stuff in your food, it costs you more. So all about.
Cheers for that, lad.
Jodie, I think this one's probably a question for you, but how come people can put weight on after an operation if your stomach has been shrunk?
Well, essentially, it's down to kind of many things. So initially, the idea is you have a restriction, but the bariatric surgery restriction is so with the sleeve or the bypass, we're making your stomach the size of a butcher's sausage or a boiled egg with the bypass. So your mouth becomes your stomach. So you chew and chew and chew, so you can get things all down nice, easily, and then go past. You need to stick to that robotic kind of meal, with Stuart showing us the plate size before, where you're having your breakfast, your lunch and your tea, because initially the ghrelin production that you no longer have from either that part of the stomach being gone or from it being bypassed away, you're just not using it anymore, you don't feel as hungry. So essentially you don't always feel like you want to eat. But as your body gets wise to the surgery, it knows that it needs to buffer, that something's happened here, I need to buffer these effects. So eventually you do get that kind of hunger pang back. The initial restriction allows you to retrain your stomach, just like weaning a newborn baby. So eventually you should be at full textured, crunchy food, but because you've got your small portions now, you should then be able to maintain. So initially you're on a very low calorie diet because you're maintaining yourself with protein based fluids. And the body has to start to think of metabolizing down that fat and indiscriminately your muscle to fuel its everyday events. So that is why you get that rapid weight loss initially, because the body is using the demand of breaking down fat. And that's why we encourage protein, because we want your muscle to build back properly. If your body hasn't got enough protein, if you're skipping meals because you're not hungry and you like weight loss, it doesn't work. The body goes into famine, it will hold on to fat, you'll become quite sluggish and lethargic. It's just, you have to do it quite a prescribed way. And then once you get to the sort of 4 to 6 month stage, you'll find that weight loss starts to slow down. And then eventually around the 18-month to 2 year stage, it plateaus out completely and you get a little bit of the rebound. So if during that time you've weaned your stomach all the way back to normal portion food, then the crunch and the texture should help you find it easy to keep that portion size down. But your hunger might come back in, and it's a log flume now, so things can go down quite quickly. So if you, for example, decided to graze on food all day, there's no restriction there that's going to stop you doing that. So you can essentially put weight on that way. If you think, lots of people perhaps might notice that they can have this latte now and that latte now, and they're not thinking so much about the carbs in drinks, or they get hooked on kind of smoothies. There's a lot of fructose and sugars in there that will convert to fat. So there's things that it's worth being a bit more self-aware of to try and maintain that weight loss. But it is essentially a tool. So that is why people can weight regain, hopefully never to where they were before. And you can potentially stretch out that stomach. It could become an alien stomach. So if you overeat regularly, eventually that little compartment that we're making could stretch if you keep overfilling it with your just too big portions all the time. Initially you might have been sick, but 2 years you're probably not going to be. So that's why we always say it's the tool that you're being given. So you've got to use it, because it's just there once. It's so sad when people come to the group and they perhaps feel that their weight gaining so really badly, where they're perhaps in the very minority where they really are getting a steep curve back to where they were, because there really isn't that much you can do. This is your one shot really of using the surgery lifelong, which is why that kind of preparation and self-awareness is really important.
Thank you. The next question's for Lisa. How did you decide to go for the sleeve instead of the bypass?
So that was in consultation with my surgeon at the time. So it's all very individual, and your surgeon will advise you which is the best one to go for at that time.
Thank you. Apart from the fact fat is worse for you generally, why do you need to avoid it post-surgery?
It'll make you sick. It will. Too much fat, too much sugar will actually make you physically sick, or it'll send it out the other way. You just need to stay away from that. I mean, even now I still stay away from it. I don't want to go through that where I've had the tummy pains, and I know I've not had it very often, but I don't like pain.
Yeah, there's two things with fat after surgery. Essentially, anything you eat that's got carbs in it, your body will use that first. It's efficient fuel. You've just consumed it. It can just easily use it. It's harder for the body to break down fat. It's extremely easy for the body to store fat. So essentially any fat you're having after surgery, that's what you'll use before your excess fat. So really, you know, when you're getting into those meal habits, it's the protein and then the veg and the salad. And if you like a chip or you like a boiled potato or you like those things, fine, have them because you like them, but they're not there as an essential part of your diet during your weight loss journey at all. They're just there because I guess a lot of us would find it very weird having a sandwich without bread, but soon you get used to it and you find different ways around it so you can avoid those carbs, which early on are really unpleasant to eat.
Thanks, Jodie. So we've got so somebody's asked, have any of you had to deal with somebody being dead against you having surgery?
No.
No, somebody's got a family member that doesn't really want them to have the surgery.
Andrea wasn't sure about it with you.
It's just that risk of the surgery.
And that's just because she didn't want to lose me.
Yeah.
Because it's like any surgery, Luke, any surgery is not, you have to be careful whether you're having bariatric surgery, whether you're having a colon surgery, or any surgery is dangerous in that fact. So you're going in for something that could potentially, you could not come out of. So that was Andrea's worry.
Yeah.
I'm going through it at the moment with my sister. She told my parents, so they all look sort of like ganged up. She said that someone who she works with had it done, and her words, she looks like she's had cancer. So this is what. So at the moment now, my children know, but I've told them, the rest of them, that I'm not having it done because I just don't want the aggravation. You know, and it's about my health. It's like my sister's very much, if she's very much of like how you look, whereas for me, like you said with your knees, mine is my knees as well, and my back. So it's not a case of vanity, it's for my health. So yeah, so you do get it, you know, and just listening to your stories makes it like, you know, it's answered so many questions for me. Really appreciate it.
I suppose if your family and friends need some more information, you're more than welcome to invite them while we're online, and they can, you know, they could come and listen and get the information from a surgeon. Or we've got, I've got the links to all of the previous information sessions that you could send to them if you want to. Appreciate that. Jodie, are you back?
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm really sorry. I was just thanking Lisa for just bringing up that really sensitive topic. I'm sure you're wrapping things up now. But yeah, let's face it, there's stigma around obesity. There's stigma around obesity surgery. You're empowered with information and education. The sessions I now do when you come and meet the team are open for family members and people that, you know, you really do want to be on your side. Everyone else, well, they can just be quiet because it's not worth, you do kind of learn to know what's of real value to you. So, and unfortunately, healthcare professionals are victims of unconscious bias. I think every healthcare professional here knows that sometimes we're very much treated like second-rate services because we work in obesity. I often get people saying, well, yeah, but what were you when you were a real nurse? So it's just these are things that we come up against in life. Your quality of life is more important than people's sweeping statements and ill thought out opinions, which are often easily changed. So the people that are here tonight that have had the surgery and have spoken are actually really good advocates. So I'm so happy, and thank you so much for sharing your journeys with us tonight.
Could I possibly just say, sorry, I just was wanting to say to Lisa that I had the opportunity to have surgery in 2018, and unfortunately I let people talk me out of it. And I have never regretted anything so much in my life, because here I am now, still all this time, now trying to get to where I was before. So, yeah, if you want to just go for it. Don't listen to anyone else. I wish I hadn't.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sally.